Hey guys, Ravedge here. This is going to be my vid covering the new 5.1 monk changes. This patch definitely helped Windwalker monks, and there are a number of things I want to cover. So without further ado, here's my vid covering the patch 5.1. Enjoy. Now guys, before I dive right into this, I'm going to go ahead and cover the big changes first before I cover the small changes, because some of these bigger changes need a little bit more explanation, while the smaller ones are just minor little tweaks to the monk class. So the first thing I'm going to cover is actually the change to Stance of the Fierce Tiger. Now this was a change I was really excited about, and what it is you're going to constantly get 10% extra movement speed while in Stance of the Fierce Tiger. This is not anything to be, it's only 10%, like overlook it. It's, in my mind, going to be game breaking. There have been times in Arena where I am just barely too far away from my target, and they are going to get away and live. And it was really annoying. Now with this change, I'm actually able to close the gap quite a bit more, I've noticed. Like, I'm able to stick to a target that much better. Now, what I really like about this talent is it's at all times, and it does stack with other effects. Most speed increases that are passive don't stack with other things. So see, like right now, if you have the boot enchant of, I think it's called Blurred Speed, which is 140 agility and minor speed increase, it will stack with the extra 10%. So I will be constantly moving that extra little bit. Now, the reasons that this was so big for monks is because I've noticed it on this class, and I have not heard of other people having this problem as much, where I would be white hitting something, say this far away, which as you can see I'm actually not completely on it. Other classes do this as well, but they're able to cast their spells. Now in Arena with lag, obviously latency between different players or whatnot, I can understand where you can't get spells off here and there, but there are other times where people are just hitting their targets no problem. And, you know, warriors can charge onto a target. The paladins will judgment and get a speed increase if they're spec'd that way. Rogues have, you know, shadow step or whatnot. Monks only have roll, and roll you can't really control that well. You can obviously point the direction, but nothing to actually just stay directly on your target. This extra 10% is going to be huge, because there were times in Arena, and I would just want to almost pull my hair out, when people would just be running around, say, Dalaran Arena, the boxes up on that upper level, and I would be white hitting, and I would be spamming my disabled, not able to get it. It would just not go off, but I'm white hitting the target. Now with this extra 10%, I'm going to be sitting on the target that much easier, and I should be able to keep disables up no problem. So as in changes of 5.1, this one is definitely my top one. I was really looking forward to this patch for this change, and so far I am absolutely loving it. Alright, now the next thing I wanted to cover is actually some changes in the talent tree. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the Power Strikes changes. So what they have done with Power Strikes is it still does the same effect of giving you an extra chi when you use jab on the 20-second cooldown. However, it now works as a buff. As you can see here what that logo looks like, if you look at my buffs, I have the same thing, Power Strikes, and that will actually show that the next time I jab I will get the extra chi. Now, this is a nice little change because if you pay attention to your buffs really well, you'll be able to use this accordingly and line up better damage. So if you know you're going to get an extra chi on your next jab, you might use it all, get the 3 chi, and then be able to Fist of Fury right off the bat without, you know, having to jab twice. Now, however, I have noticed with this change that I don't know if this is how it always was because there was never the buff, but the buff will pop up quicker than 20 seconds. I am wondering if it might be a bug or if it's working as intended. I'm wondering if you use jab and then get the extra chi, if then it will start the cooldown, as in the 20-second cooldown on it, or once you get the buff, then it starts the 20-second cooldown. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to go ahead and jab, and as you watch me jab, I will lose this buff, and I'm going to start my stopwatch around the same time. Okay? So 2 seconds, 3, and it should take 20 seconds from what the talent is saying. But we will see. I've noticed sometimes it pops up right away or within a couple seconds. See right there, around 10 or 11 seconds, I got the buff again. Now, I do not know if that's how it's supposed to work or if it is doing what I'm saying, but it makes no sense because I was talking beforehand. So right now, it seems it might be on a 10-second cooldown. I'm going to go ahead and clear and try that again and see how that goes. Wait for my chi to disappear. I'll go ahead and use the Spitting Fire Blossom. So let's try that again. Jab, stopwatch, lose the buff, got the 3 chi. Now if this one pops up in about 10 seconds, I think it might just be on a 10-second cooldown then. And there it is again at 10 seconds. Alright, now here, I'm going to go ahead and use these real quick. And now I'm going to jab at 20 seconds. Alright, I got the buff. Now let's see, if at 30 seconds I have the buff again, then I'm going to rate it as a 10-second cooldown. Interesting. So now this is saying that it says every 20 seconds, but it appears to be 10 seconds. So I guess that might be a bug, quite frankly. But that was a change that I figured I'd cover real quickly. I still, however, am not using this talent anymore. I use Ascension in place of it, but as in Power Strike's talent right now, I'm going to do a little bit more research into it and check to see if this is a known bug. So I'm going to go ahead and hop right into the next one. Alright, now the next thing I wanted to cover is actually some changes in the talent tree. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the Power Strikes changes. So what they have done with Power Strikes is it still does the same effect of giving you an extra chi when you use jab on the 20-second cooldown. However, it now works as a buff. As you can see here what that logo looks like, if you look at my buffs, I have the same thing, Power Strikes. And that will actually show that the next time I jab, I will get the extra chi. Now, this is a nice little change because if you pay attention to your buffs really well, you'll be able to use this accordingly and line up better damage. So if you know you're going to get an extra chi on your next jab, you might use it all, get the 3 chi, and then be able to Fist of Fury right off the bat without, having to jab twice. Now, however, I have noticed with this change that I don't know if this is how it always was because there was never the buff, but the buff will pop up quicker than 20 seconds. I am wondering if it might be a bug or if it's working as intended. I'm wondering if you use jab and then get the extra chi, if then it will start the cooldown, as in the 20-second cooldown on it, or once you get the buff, then it starts the 20-second cooldown. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to go ahead and jab, and as you watch me jab, I will lose this buff, and I'm going to start my stopwatch around the same time. Okay? So 2 seconds, 3, and it should take 20 seconds from what the talent is saying, but we will see. I've noticed sometimes it pops up right away or within a couple seconds. See right there, around 10 or 11 seconds, I got the buff again. Now, I do not know if that's how it's supposed to work or if it is doing what I'm saying, but it makes no sense because I was talking beforehand. So right now, it seems it might be on a 10-second cooldown. I'm going to go ahead and clear and try that again and see how that goes. Wait for my chi to disappear. I'll go ahead and use a Spitting Fire Blossom. So let's try that again. Jab, stopwatch, lose the buff, got the 3 chi. Now if this one pops up in about 10 seconds, I think it might just be on a 10-second cooldown then. And there it is again at 10 seconds. Alright, now here, I'm going to go ahead and use these real quick. And now I'm going to jab at 20 seconds. Alright, I got the buff. Now let's see, if at 30 seconds I have the buff again, then I'm going to rate it as a 10-second cooldown. Interesting. So now this is saying that it says every 20 seconds, but it appears to be 10 seconds. So I guess that might be a bug, quite frankly. But that was a change that I figured I'd cover real quickly. I still, however, am not using this talent anymore. I use Ascension in place of it, but as in Power Strike's talent right now, I'm going to do a little bit more research into it and check to see if this is a known bug. So I'm going to go ahead and hop right into the next one. Alright, now the second talent change I wanted to go ahead and cover was the Ascension talent. Now, what they've done with Ascension is it still does the same effect of you have an extra 1 chi maximum. So as you see, I have 5 bubbles up here now instead of 4. But now it also gives you a 15% energy regen increase. Now this talent was not anything that, it's not groundbreaking, but it was definitely worth thinking or trying out. I went ahead and switched over to haste stacking because haste in general increases your energy regen as well. So with that talent and my reforging towards haste, I also got some new pieces. I went ahead and switched my belt towards the waistband of accuracy because its stats on it are hit and haste. And my bracers, which are now arm wraps of alacrity. And that has haste on it as well. Now with these changes, I have switched over, as I switched over to the haste, I haven't noticed that much of a damage, I haven't noticed any major damage increase, but my damage has gone up. It seems to flow easier for me. Because now, with the extra energy regen, I'm able to just pretty much drain my energy bar, and it will replenish in around 6 seconds. And the extra, having 5 chi, doesn't seem like that big of a difference, but I have definitely made uses out of it. The biggest thing I like about it is I can go ahead and be at full chi like I am right now, do a Rising Sun Kick straight into a Fist of Fury. Now, normally you would not be able to do this because you cannot use, you couldn't have enough chi at any time. You could only have 4. So with this, I'm able to link those two moves together without having to throw an extra jab in between. Now, my energy replenishes so fast that I have noticed with, when you're just damaging someone and all of a sudden they hit you really low, say like right now I'm just going ahead and hitting this target dummy like crazy, and then he knocks away a chunk of my health. I'm going to be like, oh no, I need to toss a heal, and there I go, Expel Harm. Now normally I'm never at like 0 energy, I'm sometimes around 15, 20 energy, and Expel Harm costs 40 energy. So I would have to wait sometimes what seemed like forever, but my energy just replenishes that much faster now, where I'm able to, those oh no moments, I'm able to get away scot-free, like I'm okay. So with this change, I definitely am liking this talent, and I believe that as of 5.1, this talent will be what everyone picks for PvE and PvP as well, because the extra energy regen for raiding, you're constantly using jab. You should pretty much be energy starved, just spamming damage the whole time. Obviously, you won't be if you get, you know, a couple moves here and there, but you're constantly spamming damage. Now in PvP, yes, I agree. You don't need 100% energy regen at all times because you're never on your target all the time. That is true. However, with how Expel Harm is using energy and other moves, this just seems to work better for me or my play style. Now, Power Strikes, as I showed you before, it might be bugged for the 10-second cooldown. That is still a pretty strong talent. All 3 of these are really great talents, quite frankly. Chi Brew is awesome because, obviously, full Chi you can use for extra burst window or whatnot. But the 1.5 minute cooldown kind of just, it puts me off from it. I'm like, I would rather use Power Strikes or Ascension. I'm using Ascension right now. That might change as I play more, so, but if that does happen, I will go ahead and fill you guys in on that. As of right now, though, I have switched my gear, like I showed you, with those 2 pieces, and then obviously reforging. I go for 3% hit for PvP cap, and then now I am sitting at 4% expertise. I used to reforge towards a lot of expertise, but now I just switched to around 4%. I have looked at some other high-rated monks and talked to some other monks and said, what do you shoot for? Some say they shoot for, they don't really care. Some shoot for 4%, some shoot for 3. I am happy with a healthy 4%. It seems to be a good number for me. It works out well, and my damage has not gone down by switching to this. If anything, it's gone up. So now once I hit the 4% and 3%, I reforge everything towards haste. I used to be towards crit, but I have only lost around 1% of crit and gained around 3% haste increased. So with this talent, it did change a couple things for me, but I definitely am liking Ascension. So if you haven't tried it out, go ahead and try it out and see how you like it for your playstyle. Alright, the next thing I'm going to talk about is one of the biggest changes as in 5.1 for Windwalker monks, and that is the Tiger Palm change. Tiger Palm originally you would have to stack it 3 times for the 30% armor ignore. Now it's only once for the whole 20 seconds. This is a huge change because against play classes, a lot of times it was really difficult to, number 1, build up 3 chi really quickly, and then number 2, use all 3 chi really quickly. That is, because Tiger Palm itself, it does okay damage, but it's nowhere near using Rising Sun Kick. Think about it. Now, it only costs me 1 chi, so say I go ahead and build up like a full chi bar right now. I'm going to let the buff fall off, but then I would originally have to go, you know, Tiger Palm, Tiger Palm, Tiger Palm, and now there, okay, I've got Rising Sun Kick, but I am completely used all my chi. So now I have to build it all up again. So rarely you would be able to be on your target that often and that regularly. Now with this change, I can be at full chi, use that, and go ahead and do Rising Sun Kick, Blackout Kick, and then like it's barely anything more than just, oh, okay, got to keep that buff up. it's no longer a nuisance like it used to be. And PvE is a little bit different, but PvP, it was so obnoxious getting the 3 stacks finally, and then getting peeled off for just a second and losing all 3 stacks. This change with the mastery of how, obviously you can have the procs where you get free Tiger Palm where it won't cost any chi. There are times where I just hit it just to make sure it's up when I go ahead and use the mastery proc. This is definitely a change that was needed for monks because, as in PvP, it made us that much more, I'm not going to say viable in that sense, but it definitely improved our damage, but it didn't actually buff damage as in boosting its numbers, just the utility of how we put it out quick enough. With the changes to Ascension and the energy bar and extra chi, this makes us that much more deadly in my mind. They haven't buffed our damage percentage-wise, but they definitely have buffed it in other ways. Alright guys, the next change I want to cover is actually another talent change, and that is to healing elixirs. Now, with healing elixirs, every 18 seconds you gain healing elixirs, causing your next brew or tea to also heal you for 10% of your total health. So now that's actually going to be a buff, just like power strikes. You see right here how I have it? So when I consume my brew, obviously I will lose the brew, and then I will also gain 10% of my health, and I should also lose the buff. Now this is an 18-second cooldown, so I'm going to use a stopwatch and check it here. Now I believe this might be bugged as well, and I'm going to do a test right after this to go ahead and check in depth on that. Alright, so now I'm going to consume and hit the stopwatch at the same time. Now it should be roughly 18 seconds before it pops up again. But as you saw right there, it popped right up again in less than 10 seconds by far. So now I am wondering if it's based off of the buff you get. What I'm actually going to do now is clear the stopwatch, and I'm actually going to just go ahead and once I consume the first one, I'm going to keep spamming it to see how many I can get within a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and there's my first stack, so go ahead and start now. Healed again. Healed again. One more time. I should be able to fit one more in within the minute window. And there's a minute. Okay, now with that, I am actually seeing, you know how the first one popped up right again? I believe once you get the buff, it then starts the 18-second cooldown. So right now it's been at a minute, and when I go ahead and get the buff again, which there, I'm gonna go ahead and consume, or actually I'll give it a little bit of time right now. I'm gonna reset this first. I'm gonna then consume it and hit the start on the stopwatch, and then I'm gonna go ahead and see how quick I can get another stack of it again. Now I got a feeling it is once you get the buff it starts the cooldown, so let's go ahead and see right now. Okay, I'm gonna pause, clear that, and okay, got my first stack. Here we go. And there, it's up again. See, so it is actually, once you get the buff, it starts the cooldown again. So, if you're obviously spamming this on cooldown, you're going to be roughly at the 18-second window. If you use power auras or a certain add-on or something that will show that buff over here, you could really pay attention and use it for a heal quite a lot easier. Originally, you would just have to kind of guesstimate in your head, has it been at least 18 seconds since I last consumed my brew to get a heal? So this is a change that I definitely like, and I might actually tweak around and change my UI a bit to be able to use this more effectively or efficiently. Alright, now the next thing I want to go ahead and talk about is the energy changes. Now, what they have changed with energy cost on a couple of spells, some are a bigger deal than others. There were 3 changes altogether. The first one we talk about is Spear Hand Strike. This is our interrupt, and it's still the 15-second cooldown, but now it only costs 10 energy. It used to cost 30. Now, 30 energy may seem like, oh, it replenishes quick enough, it's okay, but realistically, that is 30% of our, I guess you could say, resource bar. You know, there was no Warrior's Interrupt never cost 30 Rage, a Paladin's Interrupt never cost him 30% of his mana, so why should a Monk's cost 30%? Rogues never did either. With this change, it definitely is, it was needed and definitely made it that much more better. This actually put it on a level playing field for being able to interrupt, because I can go ahead and be spamming jab and know I can get an interrupt off no problem. It's within like half a second of me being energy starved to getting it off. So now, instead of waiting for 30 energy, I only have to wait for 10. So that was definitely something that I really liked how they changed it. The next one we'll talk about though with the energy changes is the energy change to Healing Sphere. Healing Sphere is the little green orbs we drop on the ground that when you walk through them you get a heal. Now this originally used to be a 60 energy cost, I believe, and on a full energy bar you could get 2 out. Obviously 120 energy we couldn't do, but we regain around 20 energy within the global cooldown. Now this change was definitely, I wouldn't say oh it was needed, but it actually made it so we use the spell a lot more. Well, I do at least. What I'll do is when I go into arena, especially now, I will go ahead and put down my Transcendence, and I will go ahead and do Healing Sphere once, twice, 3 times. Look, I did all 3 there in the same energy bar in just 3 global cooldowns real quick. Now, say I am just fighting over here, like behind a pillar or something, completely LOS, and I am just getting destroyed, lost, say right there, 100k health. I can go ahead and port, and I will land right on the spheres, and they healed me. So with this lower energy cost on this, I will be using these a lot more, dropping them in arena for partners, saying run through them if they're getting trained, and they will get an extra bit of health back. So these are definitely going to be used a lot more for me. The next energy change they went ahead and did was the energy cost of our buffs, Legacy of the White Tiger and Legacy of the Emperor. These used to be, I believe, 40 energy each, which cost a lot of energy, quite frankly. Now it's just 40 for the 2. So there are times, you know, mages will be spell stealing, or you'll be getting, you know, just purged off or whatnot. And if I get behind LOS to able to bandage or something or get healed up, like as in a reset or eating mage food, I will go ahead and pop both these buffs back on real quick. Now, since it's so cheap in cost, it's no problem. I can just do doom. It seems like on my energy bar I only lost about 25 energy the whole time because of how it's regenerating so quick. So that covers the energy changes of cost of spells, and I feel these all were positive steps in the right direction for the Windwalker monks. Alright guys, the next thing I want to talk about real quick is the changes they've done to our heals and how much they heal. They have buffed and nerfed some of the healing across the board. They left Expel Harm alone, luckily, so no changes to that. Still heals for a good chunk, you know, 35k non-crit. However, the first thing I did notice they did change was the amount that Healing Spheres will heal for. Now, they have boosted the heal that this will do by 20%, which I like, especially now with the new change of the energy cost. I'm going to be using these all that much more. So I do like that change. The first decrease I have seen is they have reduced the amount of healing we take from Chi Burst and Chi Wave by 25%, which I wasn't too happy about, but I can see what Blizzard was getting at, because when you're up close and melee and it bounces back and forth real quick, it heals for quite a bit still. 17k, 35k crits right there. I'm not really noticing too much of a difference, but there were times when fully raid buffed I would see Chi Wave crit heal 100k on one tick, which was absurd amounts. So I get what they were getting at with that. Now Chi Burst I'm not too worried about because I don't spec it. However, they also did nerf the detonate of Zen Sphere, which also I can see what they're getting at again. With raiding and full buffs, your AP being really high, this thing would crit heal like 80k on everybody around me. When I was, especially if you were ever tanking, because Vengeance would stack your attack power, it would make it insanely heal for so high. As in PvP, it still really is quite unchanged. I haven't really noticed that much. So that was the changes to healing. Nothing too insane. They buffed one, if anything, that I'm going to try and use a lot more of. You know, Healing Spheres, try them, get used to them. I feel like that's definitely something that if you learn how to handle those properly, it'll definitely be something that will improve your gameplay. Alright, now the last change I'm going to go ahead and talk about is the change to Crackling Jade Lightning. This isn't that huge of a change, but what they did now is you get a 35% chance to generate 1 chi instead of 25%. There were times when I would do chi whole Crackling Jade Lightning and not get a single chi, and there were other times where I would get 3 really quick. So yeah, it's still RNG based, but it just increases the chance of it happening. Now, when do you use this spell, you might ask? You know, sometimes you get rooted and Tiger's Lust is on cooldown, especially if you're using it for your partners or whatnot. If one's trying to run away, I'll go ahead and give it on them, and then I might get Frost Nova'd or, you know, Druid Root or something. Just go ahead and doing this. It's still doing 10,000 damage a tick. And it has, as you see right there, the chance to give me the chi. So that whole one, I got 1 chi there. There are other times it'll be like chi, chi, chi. As you can see right there, I've gotten 2, 3, 4 chi. I got 4 chi off that whole thing. So if you are rooted and you're like, oh, what to do now? If you don't have chi for Spinning Fire Blossom or something, go ahead and use Crackling Jade Lightning. Now with this, it's just making chi generation that much easier for it. So that was the Crackling Jade Lightning change. I feel it kind of helped our RNG in that sense, but it's really not too big of a change that needs to be too stressed about. Alright guys, that will wrap up this video covering patch 5.1. I'm definitely excited about the changes they have made for Windwalker monks and feel Blizzard had made a few steps in the right direction. If you did enjoy the vid, please like, fave, and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. And if you felt I may have missed something or have a question, please comment below and I'll answer anything ASAP. I also will be throwing out some footage this week that will have been recorded after patch 5.1, so be sure to check back for that. And as always guys, this is Ravedge saying thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the BGs.